Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to take a look at two of my favorite cases. One of them is the Corsair 5000D and the other one is the Corsair 7000D. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is that size is not the only difference between these two cases. There are a lot of different features on the 7000D that make the extra price worthwhile. Anyway, before we get into the video, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoy the video, like the video, and leave a comment down below. I try to respond to all the comments that I get. So obviously, we'll talk about the size first, and the 5000D is 20 inches long, it's 20.5 inches high, and 9.5 inches wide. Whereas with the 7000D, it's 21.25 inches long. It's substantially taller at 23.5 inches. That's probably the biggest size difference between the two. And then the width is 9.75 inches wide. That size comparison is not including like the hinges or the thumb screws sticking out. That's just the physical box. So another big difference is that with the increased size, you're also going to have additional room for fans. So the 5000D can fit either 3 120mm fans in the front, 3 120mm fans in the back, 3 120mm fans on the top, and 1 120mm fan in the back for a total of 10 120mm fans. Or you can do two 140mm in the front, 2 140mm in the top, and also then the 120s on the side and a 120 in the back. So vice versa on the 7000D, you can fit a total of 12 120mm fans. And that is, you can fit 4 in the front, 4 on the side, 3 on the top, and 1 in the back. Or vice versa, you can fit 7 140mm fans, which would be 3 in the front, 3 on the top, 1 in the back, and then an additional 4 120mm fans on the side panel. For front I/O, on the 5000D, you have 2 USB 3.0s and 1 USB-C 3.1 and a 3.5mm headphone / mic jack and a reset button and a power button. On the 7000D, instead, you have 4 USB 3.0s, 1 USB-C 3.1, and the headphone jack, reset button, and power button. Now, because it has 2 extra USB 3.0, it has 2 connector cables. So if your motherboard doesn't have 2 USB 3.0 connectors on it, you only can use the 2 of them instead of the full 4. The motherboard I have only has the 1 connector. It's the, I keep forgetting. It's the X670 Oris Elite AX, and it only has 1 USB 3.0 connector, so I can only use 2 of the USB 3s. There's also substantially more room, and we'll get a better look when we open it up. This is just a quick overview. There's substantially more room for hard drives. The 5000D, you can fit 4 2.5-inch SSDs and 2 3.5-inch hard drives, whereas with the 7000D, you can fit, again, 4 2.5-inch SSDs, but you can also fit 6 3.5-inch hard drives. And then for the 5000D, you can fit a GPU with a max length of 240mm, or a CPU cooler with a max height of 170mm. On the 7000D, you can fit a GPU with a max length of 450mm, and a CPU cooler with a max height of 190mm. So high level, those are the specs for the 2 cases. They both have, for the front and top fans, you can remove the grill. They have filters on them. They have nice, thick thumb screws. I don't know if you can see it very well on there, but they're really easy to use. They're not small little screws. They're easy to get at, easy to hold, especially on the side panels on the 5000D. You try to take them off. Those nice thick thumb screws are really easy to get at. So we're going to take a quick look at the 5000D. We'll go through what it looks like. Then we'll look at the 7000D and I'll highlight the differences outside of the size from there. So the 5000D has tempered glass front panel. It comes off with these nice little thumb screws. And then it just pops off that way. You don't have to worry about sliding it off. It just has little hinges or grooves that it kind of slides into in the front, and it can pivot off. So the front and the back are the same. On both the 5000D and 7000D, you have nice vented panel, so the fans on the back side have lots of air that can flow through. There's not a whole lot of restriction there. And again, it just pops off nicely. And there you go. You can fit the three 120mm fans here. It's got another panel that's on a hinge that slides off easily. And this is where you can fit your SSDs. So this has 3 panels here. I'm missing a piece. And then you can also screw on the back of this plate an SSD, and this plate goes on the back right here. I took it off because I was putting the AIO on. And at this moment, I can't get reach to it because the cables are there. Ignore my mess of cables. But this is what the back looks like. It has some nice channels. It has lots of depth here. It's almost 1.5 inches of clearance. So you have lots of room for cable management. It can easily accommodate your thickest of cables. It's got lots of room down here that you can shove it in. To put the hard drives in, it has this hard drive tray. I instead decided to shove my cables in there, but this hard drive tray fits in there, and it has these thumb screws that will bolt it down to the bottom of the chassis. You get the fan controller here, so you can fit 6 additional fans on here, and there's lots of little areas on the sides, up top here, where you can tie your cables down. Here's a quick look at the front panel. Again, it's got the screen on there, and there's the 3 fans. This specific one, the 5000D, comes with 2 120mm fans. There's usually one installed in the front and one installed in the back for exhaust. I don't have a GPU in this system, but as you can see, there is ample room for everything, for your GPU, for you to work around in here. There's lots of room to, I got the AIO at the top, but if you want to do a custom water loop, there's lots of room to do that in here. You got 2 big gaps at the bottom to feed your cables through. You got a vented PSU shroud, but it also has at the bottom a filter and ventilation as well for you to be able to vent the PSU fan downwards. And what's not shown here that I've taken off are 2. So what I don't have installed is this right here. This is a shroud that goes over top of this area if you decide not to put any fans in here, just so you don't have a gaping hole. This goes over top of it just to, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. As well, if you don't need the extra room here, where I took the hard drive out, I don't need it. There's enough room there for the cables to be shoved in. You can put this in instead, and this will go in and replace this piece and just open this part up. So it'll go in there and it'll keep all your cables pushed to the side. And you also have 2 vertical slots here if you decide to vertically mount your GPU. So there, that's what the 5000D looks like. It's a really nice case. It's large, but it's not too large. In a second here, I'll bring the 7000D and put that up and behind it, and you can actually see the size difference. Number-wise, it doesn't seem that much bigger, but when you compare them side by side, they do look, it does look a lot bigger than the 5000D. So numbers are one thing, but here it is. actually comparing the two different sizes. So in the front is the 5000D and the back is 7000D. And as you can see, it is substantially taller than the 5000D. But when we look at the length, it's really not that much longer. Now let's do a dive into the 7000D and look at where that extra cost is going, because Canadian, the 5000D is about $200 and this is about $350. So an extra $150 for a case that's a little bit larger is a little bit excessive until you look at some of the features that comes with it. So on top of it, you got the extra two USB 3.0. And then you also get these nice hinged doors. You get the hinged door on the front and you have a hinged door on the back. You'd be surprised how much handier it is to have the panels on a hinge versus having to use thumb screws and slide them off. They're a lot easier just to access because you can open right up and do your thing and close it, or they slide. And they slide off pretty easy. So starting off with the front, as you can see, it's substantially, it is bigger. You have the extra fans, so you can do an extra 120 on the front and the back there. And then the shroud that I showed you on the 5000D that covers up the fan actually comes in two pieces for the 7000D. So you have these two pieces are supposed to kind of go together and they cover up the fans, and then this piece covers up the cables so you don't see them coming out of here. But with this, if you have your fans in, you can take this piece off, and if you want, you can just have this part put in there. I have my GPU getting in the way, so I can't do it because it has the sag bracket, but you could have this, if you didn't have that, put right over there. So it just makes it a little more aesthetically pleasing to cover up the holes that your cables run through. You also get a slightly bigger replacement here, so if you don't want to have this piece here, I have this here because I do have the it comes with two hard drive bays that you can install. So one of them got taken out so I could have room for cable management. I left the other hard drive bay right here just because I didn't want to remove it yet. But if you don't have this one here, you can insert that instead, and this looks a little bit different. It's got the 7000D on it, and again, that just goes in there just to make everything a little bit more wide open. If you plan on doing your custom water loop or whatever, you can have this like that and put that in here so you have more room to work with. And where the hard drive bay on the 5000D only had two slots, the ones with the 7000D has 3 slots, and it comes with 2 bays. So the other thing where that extra cost comes in is that, let's pick it up and show you. On the top, the fan or AIO mount, this actually unscrews and can come out, whereas in the other one it does not. So you have that little bit extra modification and accessibility that adds extra cost to the unit. You also have that extra accessibility at the front fans as well. You have a screw here and a screw here, and once you undo that, this mounting bracket comes right out with the fans. Like I said, on the back as well, the door is hinged, so it's easy open, and you can take it off. Same with the extra door here, hinged, and it comes right off. And here's where things between the 5000D and 7000D are pretty much the similar, except bigger. We got the fan controller. This is the cover that I didn't have on the other one, where you can mount an extra SSD. You have the 3 SSD mounts here, and down here you have space for 2 hard drive bays. I got one put in there, and you can put another one right here. So this one is definitely better if you plan on doing a lot of video editing or anything like that where you need additional storage, because there's ample room for storage. It also has lots of room and cable channels, place to tie off your cables. So overall, both cases they're very nice, lots of room, very sturdy, they're well put together. You wouldn't go wrong. You can't go wrong with either case. Probably more boils down to how much room do you have and what's your budget. Personally, I like the 7000D a little bit better just because I like those the hinge doors. They're really nice to have the hinge doors. The extra cooling is nice, the extra room, and the ability to put additional fans inside the case. The one thing I forgot to mention is that the 7000D has 3 vertical GPU slots for vertical mounting, so it can fit a slightly larger GPU. Yeah, part of what I was saying is I like the additional room, but it also seems that this is better equipped for if you have much hotter components. So A, you can stick more fans. B, if you plan on going with air cooling, it has more clearance for your CPU cooler. And if you have a bigger GPU that you want to mount vertically, it has more room because it has 3 slots versus the 2. So you could probably much easier to fit something like a 4090 in here than you would be able to fit in the 5000D. And I forgot to mention, got a nice little panel there to see which, especially if you have an RGB type PSU, you have this little pane here that's not on the 5000D. So there are a few extras on here that you don't get on the 5000D that do make it worthwhile paying that extra $150 in some cases, not in all cases. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I think I covered the majority of the features and the differences between the two cases. But if there's anything you have questions on, or if I missed, please leave it in the comment down below, and I'll see you next time.